If you're looking for the ultimate in preparation for beach volleyball, of course, you should come to a Better at Beach camp.
Big thing is just making sure my body feels good. I want to feel strong, but I also want to feel healthy.
What's your hitting percentage when you're hitting hard cross or high line? Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Better at Beach podcast. My name is Mark Burke, and I'm here with my main man, Brandon Joyner, and we are here to answer and discuss all of your volleyball queries. Today, specifically, we're going to talk about how to prep for a big tournament. So since today is May 13th, that means we're going into the first AVP tournament of the year. Some teams have been battling their way up to the Olympics. Some teams are already 2 or 3 months into their World Tour season. And for some teams, like Brandon, this is going to be his first major tournament of the year. So we're going to get into that discussion. And I'm also excited to share some of my fitness and preparation tips that you guys should hear, especially if you are working your way up to a major tournament. But if you're looking for the ultimate in preparation for beach volleyball, of course, you should come to a Better at Beach camp. And if you're interested in doing that, I'm going to share some dates with you. We are up to 70 people on our New York, Long Beach in Long Island, New York camp. That's May 31st to June 2nd. On June 2nd, we have a beach volleyball fundamentals in Hermosa Beach. So if you're around the South Bay and you want to get a good 5.5, 6 hours of volleyball in, we will be there on June 2nd. But June 14th in San Diego is sold out. Pretty cool. June 14th to 16th in Virginia Beach, Brandon's going to run a camp for his hometown, and he's also expecting that to sell out by the end of the day, but check our website to make sure that you don't miss out if you want to get in quick. June 28th to 30th, we are going to Vancouver, Canada. We're going up north. We rented out Six-Pack Volleyball. It's an indoor facility. We got hated on because people said, why are you going indoors when it's summer here? Guys, we like indoor facilities. Indoor facilities are great because it means that our coaches don't get exhausted through sun and humidity and wind, and our camps have an insurance, meaning we can't get canceled due to crazy wind or rain if we operate in indoor facilities. So if you do live near an indoor beach volleyball facility, or you happen to own one or work in one, get in touch so that we can come to your hometown. June 28th to 30th, we have a women's B and A level 3-day camp, June 28th to 30th in Hermosa Beach. In Hermosa Beach, July 19th through 21st, we also have a men's B and A level 3-day camp. And hey, Tennessee, wake up. We've got 3 people so far signed up for that camp, but we are coming to Chattanooga, Tennessee, July 19th through 21st, and I want to see you guys out there. Bend, Oregon. We're coming up July 26th to 28th. That is the prep for the Seaside tournament. We will be there 2 weeks ahead of the Seaside tournament. So it's a perfect prep. And we just added August 23rd to 25th, Huntsville, Alabama. And of course, Seeger Sandbar, White Sands, New Orleans in September, Miami in September. And for all of our alumni campers, we are going to the Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. So that means that if you have been to a Better at Beach camp, you are one of the only ones who will get the invite to come to an exclusive camp at an all-inclusive resort with us in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. That's happening in November. So if you're on our email list, you will get that information. And if you haven't been to a camp yet, you better attend one quick so that you can come to our all-inclusive event with us. Man, we just keep packing on the events, Brandon.
I know. They're coming out of nowhere. But it's
pretty
fun.
Nice. They're coming out of my phone, but yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to grind again. I think we were so stuck in like, oh, let's run this amount of camps this year so that we can do whatever. And now we're like, no, let's open the floodgates. Let's go see some people. Let's meet some new friends. And we're going to be traveling a lot, which is fun.
It is fun. Yeah, I think next year, maybe 2 years, we'll see. Get a little caravan, see if we can get a camper and do a full tour. That's actually been one of my dreams, to do a volleyball bus, around the country and hit up all the tournaments, all the fun ones, especially like Seaside.
Right.
Maybe even head down to Mexico. Who knows? But FUDs could be on the list. What other tournaments would you go to that you haven't gone to yet? Like, what have you not hit that's seriously
I haven't hit Motherload, and that is on the list for sure. That's one in Aspen, right?
Yep. Yeah. Me and Jeff Samuels took second to the Basie brothers there.
Ooh,
good event. That's another one of those like people events, where it's just great people running it. It's a pretty small community and it's expensive. So I'm not going to lie, for a lot of like the young 20-year-olds and mid 20-year-olds and anyone who's not making coin, it's not cheap to go there, especially if you're flying in. Like if you live in Denver, it's pretty cool. You got, a 3-4 hour trip, something like that to drive. But to fly into Aspen, you got to fly to Denver. Then you got to get the 3 to 4 hour trip. And then Aspen prices are Aspen prices. So not an easy tournament to go to, but really worth it. Really worth it.
I think that's one on my list. Other than that, I don't know. I think I've done a pretty good job of, I plan on going back to Pottstown this year. Let's go. That's kind of it's always an awesome tournament. I've played in it a decent amount of times now, but I'm still chasing that coveted title if I can somehow do it. I mean, it's all luck of the draw on how you do in a side-out game in that tournament, but that one's really fun. Another one that I really like a lot that I haven't played in a couple years is Myrtle Beach Open. Obviously in Myrtle Beach, but Adam Roberts helps run it. Runs it himself.
Yeah. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, guys, check out, I think it's episode maybe number 97 with Adam Roberts, and he's got some good stories about 2 generations of pro players just living at his house back when everyone was like scumbags. And
it's I was lucky enough to meet Adam when I was in my like mid 20s when I was living in Virginia, and I would travel down there and stay for a long weekend at the Myrtle Beach Open, stayed at his place. And it's one of those tournaments that the play is very high level. There's a lot of really good teams. And then the hangout afterwards is just so much fun. Those are the kind of tournaments I enjoy.
The people in the hang tournament. I mean, it's a good life. And it's interesting because sometimes you need that balance. Like AVP is this fine mix of those local tournaments where it's all people and fun, and the FIVB where it's straight up business. People aren't saying hi to each other. They're showing up, heads down, ready to rock. Everybody spent $1,000 just to get there. And then some countries and federations are paying their own way. USA athletes were pretty lucky in that we get certain stipends, and they'll pay a lot of the tournament sign-up fees if you sign up through USA Volleyball, which is really great. But yeah, you don't make friends on the World Tour at all. And you show up to practice and there are 9 cameras filming your practice, and you're like, man, is this even legal? Can you film me before you play against me? But yeah, it was weird going from AVP to that. AVP where you could chat up the refs and kind of argue with them and smile, to FIVB where as soon as you said a word to the ref, you got a hand in your face, which is a little rude.
Yeah, hey, you gotta keep it going.
But they're keeping their matches going, and it's super professional. Would like a little bit more discussion from the referees, especially when they're wrong. But you can't waste all that time, and you got a tournament to run. Right. But the vibe is just so different on the World Tour.
I would say even with the AVP, comparing that to a Seaside, to can't even compare it to a FUDS, but a Myrtle Beach Open, a Aspen, whatever. But I think having that mix is so important, and not only for the people, but also like the players playing on the AVP, because it gets to be so tiring. I think, like when you're showing up, and in the volleyball world, we talk about it a decent amount. Like obviously you want to win, but it's one of those sports that you only compete for a weekend, and almost everybody loses. There's one team that walks away at the end of the weekend that can call themselves a champion that didn't lose the last match. But yeah, it just gets to be tiring. So those fun events, there's a little bit less pressure. You're not so worried about, you obviously want to win, but getting to have that aspect of hanging out, having fun the whole time is just really cool.
And what's interesting about the fun events, or like amateur events, CBVAs, Dig the Beach in Florida, TVAs, I think that they prepare you better for AVPs in some ways than actual AVPs, because to win an amateur event, you need a certain level of stamina that is not required at most AVP events, because AVP, you're playing anywhere from 1 to 3. I think there is a certain pathway where you might get suckered into playing 4 matches in one day and you're, pretty fried, because that can be 8 or 12 sets of volleyball. But if you're playing pool play, long days, you don't really know when your next match is coming, how long everything's going to take. And then you've got to work your way through pool play, all rounds of playoffs, and then finish at sundown. You build up a strength and a tolerance so that an AVP kind of feels, I'm not going to say an AVP feels easier to win, but definitely easier to last, because you've been through that length of tournament.
I think people that live away from California are great. You and I kind of had this conversation on Friday very briefly I don't know. I remember Janelle was there and we were talking about, she was like, how's practice feeling? Like, are you feeling good? And I was like, yeah, actually, I feel great. I feel phenomenal, but I still need to, I'm consciously thinking about the fact that I have to turn on my competitive edge, before Thursday comes, because out here in California, we have the ability to train so much that the practices are quite friendly, and you want to win the drills, you want to win the games at the end of the practices, but a lot of it is just so focused on reps and fixing things and stuff like that. But when I was in Virginia, it was like, I might have gotten to play pickup with my buddies once or twice a week. And then I had the tournaments on the weekends. And so I would show up and I was getting my volleyball from the tournaments. Losing was the worst thing in the world, So you're like, all right, I gotta keep winning, because I don't know the next time I'm going to get to play a game. I might not be able to find enough people to play volleyball next week.
Yep.
But out here, it's there's just endless opportunities for practice. So I'm getting mean. I'm getting ready for Thursday. I'm excited.
It's funny, those personas, looking back, and then when I need to play or I need to make myself interested to compete again, I realize now fully that in order to play well and fiery and come out, I needed anger. I used anger as fuel. And that was my persona without knowing it. It wasn't out of control. Some people thought I was out of control, but I was actively displaying it. And then when I went back to the service line saying, I'm going to destroy this person with a serve, I might take their head off. Those are my big serves. That was when it was coming. It was sort of when I calmed down. If I could mix the level of calm that I had late with the kind of passionate, almost anger that I had early on, that's a great mix for me to have, so long as you can control your decisions. If you let your emotions and your passion change the way you decide or change the way that you plan, then it's a problem. Some people, they'll get angry and they lose all ability to make decisions rationally or think about the next point. All they focus on is the anger. It's it needs to be directed. Emotions need to be directed. And if they give you energy, use them. If you want to be angry, if you want to pick a fight like Michael Jordan, use it. If you just want to be great and awesome like Wayne Gretzky without ever needing to pick a fight in your whole life, and you let your defenders get into all the fist fights, do that too. But it's okay to find yourself in a different persona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's easier when you're younger. You have that extra energy. When you get older, you really have to decide all right, who am I going to be? Mm-hmm. And you start looking at the other side and you're like, all right, is it worth me if I say something to this person right now? Am I going to get a reaction? Mm-hmm. There's some players that you definitely can get them to react the way you want, which is cool. Some players, you're just like, all right, I'm not even going to waste my energy doing this, because I know that they're not going to say a single thing to me.
They got wax in their ears and stone face. Yeah,
for sure.
You're going to be playing on Thursday, and then I might head there, and then I'm ending up coaching Logan and Hagen again this year. At least I'll be in their box. I've worked with them for a few practices. I guess it's only been 10, maybe 15 practices at that. But what we did this week is the boring work. And I had to send them a text to say, hey, this is the boring work that has to be done. And it's something that I really wish I did more of. And statted 9 of their games. So I was like, hey, these are the only stats that I care about. This is what we're looking for. And they're stats designed to answer a specific question. I think a lot of people, when they get involved and start like looking at their game statistically, they take all of them and they try to come up with answers once they have this pile of stats for defense, for serving, or to try to see what they do. Like everything we do in training, and with our company, if you don't focus on a specific question, or if you don't focus on a specific problem and try to get an answer and a problem solved through that, you're going to get lost and it's not directed. So our question this week, and I designed a little spreadsheet to be able to do it, and our complete player members, our online members, they get access to it. Our coaching members in the Coach Academy, they get access to it. But it's a very simple spreadsheet that it measures all of your attacks for you and your partner, and it just uses some code, and it says, all right, was it a serve receive or a transition? Did you hit from the right, the middle, or the left side of the court? What type of shot did you hit? And was it a kill, a continuation ball, a block, or an error? And so there's a few questions that we can answer there just because it's in a spreadsheet. We can look at every attack we have from the left side versus the middle. And we could say, okay, should we hit out of the middle or should we hit it at the left side? Because once you look at all those and then you say which ones were kills, which ones weren't, you can get a quick answer, right? We can look at every time we hit a high line versus every time we hit hard cross. What's your hitting percentage when you're hitting hard cross or high line? Okay, so it means that this is a shot that you can lean on. You're doing that well. You're hiding it better than all others. And so we're getting these answers where we'll know better what to do this weekend, but not through practice, literally through just the results and then tracking what we've done in the past and things that are hiding. And, you know, we did the gold medal squared camps where they have that one stat, like what's the difference between a Hall of Fame hitter at 300 or or somebody who basically like might have 1 year in the pros at 275. And it's one hit, one at bat, one hit every 2 weeks. So if you're trying to tell me with your eyes or with your feeling who's a better hitter, you won't ever be able to do that until you actually write down those stats. So those are some like really simple things that you guys at home, if you're listening, that you can do. Just take the video, pause it, use a simple Excel sheet. Was it SR, serve receive, or T, transition, anything that's not serve receive? Where did you hit the ball from? The left side of the court, the middle of the court, or the right of the court? What shot did you hit? We use X for a hard cross. We use C for cut. We use O for overcross. We use H for high line, L for hard line, and then we use S for seam. And we take those stats, and then you take the result and you see if it was kill, error, block, or continuation ball. And we'll get really, really solid answers just based on those stats, not even concerning ourselves with what the other teams have done. Take care of our side of the court based on our stats. And I don't think enough people really do that work because it's boring. And it's something that I should have done, wanted to do when I was going through it. Instead, I just watched a lot of film without necessarily writing down all of the stats. You know, I kind of took it all in, took in the positioning, looked at my technique. But there is real benefit from taking those stats. A few of our online members are really starting to see it. And we got a few tournament winners coming out of the complete player program, which is pretty sweet. Early to be getting tournament wins, but that's what happens when you've actually been focusing on volleyball for the last few months in preparation for everything else. So that's what we're doing. But we've been working a little bit on defense, you and me, with like posture and changes. What are you focusing on going into the next 4 days? And what's your process like?
My big thing is just making sure my body feels good. I want to feel strong, but I also want to feel healthy. So like today we'll do a pretty normal workout that we have been doing for the last couple weeks. That usually afterwards I'm pretty sore. Last week wasn't too bad, so I think my body's getting tuned up and I'm starting to feel good. But I want to feel that little tightness after today, so that I have Tuesday, I have Wednesday to recover from that, and then Thursday I should feel very strong, very elastic, very powerful.
Cool. So we've got a tournament day. We've got competition day Thursday. We have 1 day off, 2 days off, 2 full days off from lifting. So if somebody else is playing on a Saturday, they should not be doing like heavy legs, or you would not be doing heavy legs Friday and Thursday.
Yeah. So what my workout wise, what it will look like is I'll do a heavy workout today. Tomorrow I'll do mobility, still some form of exercise. It's not like I'm just going to lay around on the couch all day and not do anything. I'm still going to sweat. I'm still going to do some core. I'm going to get tired for an hour. But that's mainly so that I can recover, so I can get past that soreness. Wednesday, I'll get back out on the sand. That's when Tyler's getting into town. So that's a whole nother thing, is like, have to figure out for this tournament, Tyler and I, and I mean, hopefully for the foreseeable tournaments, but he lives in Florida. I live in California. So we have to get some touches on Wednesday. Normally I wouldn't want to do something crazy, but we have to figure out a way to make sure that our offense looks good so that our defense knows what we're going to be running. And so we'll probably do 1.5 hour, 2-hour practice on Wednesday. And then I'll do another mobility session Wednesday night, kind of just make sure that there's no soreness, no tightness after that, maybe hot tub. And then Thursday comes along, time to compete.
Nice. All right. So 2 off days. You're going to, tomorrow you're going to get outside, do a little bit of mobility, maybe a practice, a little sweat and technical situation. And then the day before, which I would say most people would do, day before, you would do a 45-minute to an hour practice.
Yeah.
It's so long as your volume isn't high and you're not wasting a ton of energy, you can still be great for the next day by having a practice or a lift. But all we got to talk about day before is volume, right? Keep volume low. And that means that we're not doing a lot of jumps, that we're not spending a lot of time on our feet on the sand. If you want to go in the gym, there are very real studies and stats that say that if you practice a moving weight, like a medium weight, so somewhere, let's just call it below 80% of your 1 rep max, ideally somewhere between maybe 0 and 50% of your 1 rep max, and moving it really, really fast with great technique. If you get in 3 to 4 sets of 1, that means 3 to 4 repetitions after a good warm up, your nervous system actually primes. You prime your central nervous system to help you explode more. You're able to grab on like more muscle fibers, essentially are activated through more neurons. And you can help your body realize that it can move faster, it can move more explosively. But we're not doing multiple, like any more than sets of 2 reps is dangerous for a day before. Not dangerous in terms of health, but dangerous in terms of your performance, because you're going to fatigue. So don't go high reps. Don't be the college boy who wants to get swole and like get workouts in at all costs the day before.
And I think it's the same thing for play as well. Like when Tyler and I do get out on the beach on Wednesday, we're not gonna be trying to change anything. I'm not gonna change how I pass. I'm not gonna change how I set. It's mainly for us to figure out, okay, what is the location that we're looking for with our passing? What is the location that we're looking for with our setting? What are we going to do in transition? Very, very basic conversations, and it's kind of the same all around. I think it just depends on what level you're at and how deep the conversation can go. But at my age and Tyler's age, I think Tyler's older. If I had to guess, maybe he's got to be in his 30s. I should probably know that. But, like for me, I'm pretty confident in my touch. I know how to pass. I know how to set. I know how to hit. I've been doing it for quite a while. It's just me being able to vocalize what I need out of him in order for me to be the best that I can be. And same thing for him. I'm going to want to know, hey, when you pass the ball into this position, what is that going to look like? And so we won't spend a whole lot of time getting 12 reps. We'll do it in 3 or 4. And then try to play a couple games to figure out just what does it feel like in a more natural live environment.
Sure. Yeah. And you and Tyler, you've had that conversation, you've had the experience at the highest level, but for those who haven't, for those who are new to this game or kind of just getting into it and trying to understand what those important conversations are, what questions should I ask? Brandon's going to be telling Tyler like exactly what height he needs his set at, and then they're going to try it out. Brandon's going to feel the speed of Tyler's hands, and he's going to understand like in what positions and what situations you need a certain ball. For most of us, this takes a lot of experimentation, but I'm going to give you an easy tool, guys, to start answering some questions. And they might be difficult at first. So long as you write an answer and you start attempting it, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, if you move in one direction because you're trying to solve a specific question, or you're trying to answer a specific question, it's going to be to your advantage. But if you just try to answer every single question in every single situation, it won't work. So if you're watching, you can see that we're screen sharing here, and we've got betteratbeach.com/free tools. If you're watching right now, go ahead and type that into your browser. If you're listening on your podcast, just type it anywhere on your phone, unless you're driving, just remember it. But betteratbeach.com/free tools. And one of the things that they're going to be talking about, okay, be a better partner is a really good one. In other words, what do you need to hear? What do I need to say to make you feel good? How do you like to warm up? You can turn somebody off just at the start of a match by warming them up. Some people like to hear coaching during the match. Some people that will completely shut that off. So there are very specific questions that you should be asking just based on, hey, what do you want to hear? How do you want to feel? And how can I help that during a match? But then there's also build a better offense. So build and understand your offense.
Real quick, Mark, before you move on to the next one, the build a better, or how to be a better partner, that one. That one, whenever we have our camps and I do my talk, I always bring up this specific one, because even when you and I started playing together, this was something that we did. And for those of you guys that don't know, I met Mark when I was a freshman in college, and I'm older than that now. So we've known each other for like 15 years, and we have been very, very close for those 15 years. And even going through this little workbook with you 2 years ago when we were playing together, we found out a lot, like another layer of how both of us love to play the game. And I think that that's really important. So like, especially if you're just finding the partner that you're going to play with, or even if you've been playing with the same guy or girl for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, this is something that is invaluable. Like you will definitely find some answers, and you'll find some surprises as well.
Nice. Yeah. And then along with that, figuring out what type of partner you would want to be on that free tools page. We've got a few other tools, but one of them is just build a better offense, which means that you have to know what swing you want to take. If we talk about NFL, football, or NBA, they have set plays that are designed to end up in a certain place with the ball in a certain person's hands at a certain point in the court, right? And that's how we score. Volleyball is no different. Indoor volleyball is very similar, right? We have to, as the setter, we have to run our middle to a certain location so that it might open up one of our pin hitters, right? But beach volleyball, when there's two of us, we've got actually less decisions to make. We just have to know where we want to hit from and what shots we're good at, what swings we're good at from that location, and then just keep that on repeat for as long as we can until you need some sort of switch. But this free tool here, it's an assessment. In other words, it runs you through a bunch of questions. It will help you understand your offense a little bit better. And if you give it to your partner, and then you guys it won't really do anything if you guys write it and you don't discuss it. It'll frame your mind, but without communication, it doesn't mean anything. So then share, compare, contrast, and understand, okay, you want this type of set. Like when me and Brandon were playing, he really liked this lofty, not a high one, but a loft, almost a shoot set outside to the pin. And it really established two of his shots really well. So I had to set him differently than I would set, a Logan Weber or a Kurt Topple. it's a very different situation, but we found out that he was really great in these situations. So that's the one that we're going to set up. We don't just offensively, we don't just take what the other team gives us and, oh, well, that's where we end up. So that's where we, have to swing from. That's a really disappointing way because you're giving so much control to A, the other team, and B, happenstance. Like, oh, you just hit from wherever, it doesn't matter. No, you have to design things. You have to actively control it so that you're steering in a direction. Anyway, that'll help you out. And on that free tools page, there's a few other fun things that you can check out. But if you're going into a tournament with a new partner, like Brandon is this weekend, this is a really good thing. And of course, you can always opt in for our 36 most effective beach volleyball drills. You'll get a PDF in your email, my top 10 lessons for my 10 years on the AVP, and 3 complete workouts for volleyball players. Those will all come from that free tools page. So really invite you guys there to check it out. A bunch of free tools and goodies for you that are used in real life at the highest levels. So invite you to use them as well. What do you think you and Tyler are going to do well?
I'm excited. He's got a coach's mind as well. Fun fact, Tyler, our first ever camp that we ran in Florida, Tyler coached it with us. Yeah. And so I know that Tyler knows the game really well. What's up?
We got to get him back. He's actually asked me a few times. Yeah. He's like, no, dude, I'm ready. You want me to run your social media? You want me to run a part of your business? You want me to coach? He's like kind of down for everything.
Well, now that he's playing with me, he's jumped to the top. That's what I'm saying. Hey, I'm just kidding. No, but I think that we're going to be able to have really good conversations about technique, about strategy. And then I think one thing that's going to benefit us a lot is that we're both very big players that have a lot of control. So I think our side out will be extremely high. And then I think we'll cover the court well. And I think that both of us are at a stage in our career where we're ready to push. We're ready to kind of take a lot of chances and put ourselves into some situations where we can succeed. I know I'm hungry. I know he's been hungry as well. He's been playing a lot of volleyball. He's down in Florida now, and he's been traveling to a lot of the Norsecas and trying to get some wins under his belt in that scene. And I've played against him. I've watched him play. I know I like the way he carries himself on the court. I think I need somebody like that. He's pretty honest with the players that he plays against.
But he's steady too.
He is.
He's real steady.
Yeah. And so I'm just excited. I think we have all the tools that we need in order to be a really powerful team. And it's just a matter of us showing up and doing it.
One thing that we will focus on for sure with Logan and Hagen after watching these 3 matches. I'm curious to see if they paid attention to the same thing. But yesterday, you and me, we were working, 2 days ago, me and Hagen were working on serving. And what serves did we work on? Line to line. So you line up in front of that person or along their sideline, and then you put it short or you put it fast deep on their sideline, the last 3 feet of the court, somewhere around there. If you watch the majority of matches, you will, if you just draw imaginary lines or you hang strings from your computer to watch a match and you say, okay, how many serves were actually going to land on the perimeter? Mm-hmm. It's shocking how many do not. It's everybody who is aiming for the meat of the court and having this diagonal serve, which gives the offense the most time and the best angles. It's not lazy because you think, well, I can hit the hardest when I'm going cross, and it for sure feels safer. But when you start serving those lanes, and here's an homage to Big Rick Lucas, he said, winning Pottstown is just serving the alleys. If you can just absolutely expose the last 3 to 4 feet of the sideline on every single serve, I promise you it will continue to pay off. But once you lay off of that, then you're serving meatballs right into the zone where everybody wants to pass. And after 3 matches, they had 2 serves that ended up in the last 3 feet of a perimeter sideline. And I think you saw it during the practice as well. After we practiced sideline serves and line-to-line serves for, 30 minutes? Then when we got into gameplay, just didn't happen. And it's like, you practice something for a reason, so you implement it into competition right away. And statistically, just so you guys know, statistically, the line-to-line serve, when you line up in front of the person you're about to serve, or almost outside them, and you go line to line, that fast one right on the sideline, it's statistically the most effective serve in creating bad passes. So if you're going to choose one easy win, line up just outside the person you're going to serve and just try to ping his sideline all day long. And that's an easy win that we're going to get as far as a focal point for this week and for serving, because we can't just keep serving diagonally into the meat of the court where everybody can always touch it without struggle.
I like that too. I think that's something that, without getting into specifics, Tyler and I will be focusing on being aggressive with our serves. With two guys that, I mean, I'm fairly comfortable with my defense at the moment. I'm excited to get out there and run some balls down. But I think it does start with our serve. So I think it's important. I think for everybody.
Yeah, for us. That's easy win is available there. If you just stay consistent, good things will happen. But if you consistently aim for the middle, you're veering off into some people's bodies. If you can make somebody take a knee or dive on a serve, oh man, you're starting ahead of the game for sure. What did you think about the posture work in terms of sprinting that we did today? Because there's something I saw in your film when I was watching it, and it was actually Hagen picked up on it really quick when you guys were talking. So what do you think about like sprinting versus digging in terms of posture, and how are you going to bring that into the match?
Yeah, I think something that has happened to me when I played indoor, I was a setter. And I've been thinking about this a lot. A lot of the balls that I had to dig were in indoor. It's very different because you have to just get in the way, right? You're just getting in the way of these hitters. Yeah, you're wearing the ball. And so what that looks like for me as a rights, like if I'm a setter, I would be playing back right defense. So when they set the outside hitter, I'm literally just picking my chest up. I'm making a platform from my knees all the way up to my neck. And I'm just trying to wear a ball. If I get hit, it's a great dig. Same thing on the right side. I would just fill holes, and you try to get into an area where you're going to get hit with the ball. On defense, it's been a little bit different because you have to be ready to move so much. So filling the holes is important, but you can't lose your shape, meaning like this kind of rounded kind of area where you have like some distance between your platform and your hips, because that's going to be your ability to kind of turn and chase. Something that was happening to me was I was kind of doing that same thing I would do in indoor, where I was closing off. So if they were hitting, I was getting touched. I don't even know if I can call them touches. I was getting touched with the ball. But if they happened to go away from me, then that's when I was like, I just felt like I was on skates, and I was just like, man, what am I doing? Like, I can't even take a step anywhere. So relaxing, keeping that distance, allowing myself to just be a natural game reader, and then put myself into a situation when I'm ready for it. I think that was a big thing for me, is that just because you're in the right spot doesn't mean you're a defender. It's always funny to me, like, you play against some players, and I've done it too, where they get hit with a ball and they're like, oh, that was so easy. And we're like, nah, man, that wasn't, you got hit with that ball on purpose. Like, that hitter hit you with the ball. That wasn't easy. And so I think creating that distance, allowing yourself to keep that shape, because if you're still in that spot, you can still dig the hard driven. And if they happen to go away, now you're in an area where you have enough distance where you can use the correct movement and lay down and dig at a quick pace. But yeah, you try to do both, you're done.
Yeah. For those of you guys who came from indoor who are listening, you're hearing what we're saying. I mean, you think at some point when you're playing indoor that if everybody just lied down on the court at the same time, would you get digs? Because you cover up enough area. So you end up not getting enough distance to get really, quality digs, but you get close enough to the hitter, or you're so close to the hitter because you're forced to be there to move and transition, that you don't have time to react. You really don't. You're picking a position where if the ball hits a body part, it's aimed upward, which means that your chest is a lot of times going to face up when you're down one of those sidelines. And if you do that, you're for sure not ready to sprint. And if you're kind of like I was, where you're a libero and you're playing defense all the time, you're almost comfortable being somewhere like 12 to 15 feet from the person that's hitting. And you think that that's the natural volleyball defense, but it's not. Remember, if you play back middle, how far you are from the hitters that are hitting, it's like you have all this distance. And that's why the back middle people get so many digs in indoor. If you could have that type of distance when you're playing beach, that's when you're going to get quality digs instead of getting hit with them. It's just we have to, even when we're down that sideline, we can't feel like we do in indoor and get real close to them. We got to have that big, massive space and see if we can get as far from the hitter as possible so that we have time to react against the big ones. And then to cover your point about filling holes, it's another thing that comes from indoor that beach defenders have to stop. If you fill a hole or you attempt to like shift outside of your blocker at the last second, because that's the hole that's available, you are going to become really easy to score on using shots, because it'll mean you'll have this big movement outside in one direction trying to cover the open area for hard driven. And that makes it a cakewalk to shoot around you because you've opened a window for me. So one of the things that I had to learn when I started getting a ton of digs was it's me against the hitter, not me with my blocker covering a certain amount of space against the hitter. And so the more I started ignoring my block and what he could or should cover, and actually Hagen's now embracing this too, where he's just saying, like, imagine Logan isn't there. What would I do to still make this dig? How would I read? Use those natural reading instincts. And then if your blocker doubles up with you, that's a double bonus. You got two people in the way of one ball. Perfect. But shifting into holes as a defender on the beach, not a good move most of the time. Make sure that you're just staying there and you're trying to get as much information from the hitter as you can. So quick little defensive tips for everybody out there.
Like it.
Yeah. And I think we can wrap there.
Yeah.
That's a good episode. We do have a question from some of the live attendees, so I'll answer a couple of these while we're here because we don't often get a chance to do that. Number one, what's the age requirement for the Virginia Beach? You're allowing all ages, right?
Yeah, I think it's mostly adults. We might have enough for, I think if we do have juniors right now, they're a little bit higher. But if you have a question, just shoot me an email. It's brandon@betteratbeach.com. Cool. And if we do have juniors, we still have an extra court. So what I would love to do is if we are going to have a couple juniors there, I'd love to make a juniors court, put them all together. That way we can knock it out. And I think right now, I'm going to look at the numbers after this, but we should be getting close to that.
Right. Yeah. For the majority of our camps, guys, it's all ages, all levels, unless it's otherwise noted. If you're younger than 14 or, you've got a junior and you want them to come to the camp, just know that right now, a lot of our campers and players are adults. So can your 10, 11, 12-year-old handle being around adults when they're playing? A lot of kids thrive in that environment. They're actually held to a higher standard because they have to be more mature. And some kids don't dig it. They feel out of place, and that's fine. And that's where we say, hey, just invite a few other kids your age and we'll give you your own court. And I had to answer that question again for somebody in Vancouver who's coming. She actually plays 5th nationally, but she'll be attending our camp in Vancouver. And I was like, well, if you want to bring some other kids, great. If you just want to work with the adults, more than fine. One person says he's trying to get better at passing when the ball is nearing my platform. Should my eyes be on the ball or on the target? I would say you want to look forward, look at the bottom middle of the ball as long as you can. The problem is if your hands are close to your hips and your shoulders aren't forward, you're going to get in trouble by looking to the ball because then your head starts moving. And if you do any like firearms training or anything like that, or any sort of accuracy training, if your head moves at the moment where you should have your purest release or purest contact, things are going to get wild and it'll cause other parts of your body to move. So your head should be stable. Eyes should be bottom middle of the ball. If you're getting real specific, aim small, miss small, and get your hands far away from your body so that your head and eyes don't have to move for the last 6-7 feet of the ball's flight. And then that answers all of those problems. But you definitely don't want to be like looking out into space or anything. And you don't want to be standing up with your hands attached to your thighs so that you lose track of the ball at the end. Should you train the day before and how? We already discussed that. Keep your volume low. In other words, don't be out there for a long time. Don't go high reps on anything. Be super efficient with your time. Alex said it was nice meeting us in Hermosa, and he had a great experience with Kelly Kalinsky, who's coaching our classes now, and he played some games with Dan. So Alex, thanks for coming by. And for anybody else who's from Canada or any other cities, if you're coming into Hermosa, get in touch with us. We have classes and private lessons available every day. Or if you just want to set up a group training with some friends that you're traveling with, we would be happy to be there. Dean says, I once saw you say that in lower level, there's no point in blocking angle. Why do you say that? I feel like changing it up works as well. What I say is that at the pro level, 7 out of 10 blocks already, 1 blocks. Your blocking line, you're covering cross as a defender because it covers the most space and it's the shortest distance for a defender to run. If you're peeling, which at the lower level, that should be majority peeling. You should not be blocking if you're playing A or below volleyball. You should really get out of there and work on your ball control and just control that court. But if you're going to peel cross, think about like taking 3 backward steps from the antenna or 3 backward steps along the sideline. When you take 3 backward steps diagonally, there is a massive amount of space behind you, and it's very easy to get kills in the diagonal with that much space and no human body. Whereas if you drop back along the sideline into the line 3 steps, now somebody has to hit a really tricky jumbo high arcing shot over to beat you, or they got to rock you in the face. So it's just a better idea all around. I'm not saying that it's a terrible idea to block cross once in a while, or if you get some points easily on it, throw it in there and then continue to throw it in there. But if I were to give you one blanket statement for one defensive strategy that you needed to run all day at the A level and below, it would be line blocking or line peeling. And if I were to give you one strategy to win at the pro level all day long, it would be line blocking, diagonal defending, right? So either way, that's the setup that the majority of teams use, that the majority of players should use. And if you're going to throw in some other plays, of course, yeah, do it. And if they work, do it again. And if they work, do it again and again and again. And just keep that mental stat of when it worked and why it worked. And you should be all right.
I really like that last part. I think defense is about setting up a controllable, throwing in other things, and having an answer as to how did the offense react to those other things. And when you can answer those questions, you'll probably beat teams. Very simple.
I love line block, diagonal defender, like obvious, not when they're flashing out of the middle and they're repositioning late and doing all this nonsense in the back of the court. Let the offense see you if they're even looking. But the line block with the diagonal defender, and then if they get a kill on the very next play, an obvious cross block with a diagonal defender. That simple test will tell you what they're looking at, or if they're not looking at all, right? But if you switch 2 variables, so if you then block cross and defend line, now you've switched 2 variables, so your experiment and your information collection is ruined, right? Now you have to start a whole new experiment because you didn't change a single variable. And that's what experimentation is about, trying to eliminate as much of that information as possible so that we can get good information about what that attacker wants to do and what they're trying to do. So yeah, if you want to run a cross block, cool, but just do it with a diagonal defender and see if that team hits line, or if they just don't believe that you would leave that much space down the line, so they hit some sort of garbage shot. You'll be surprised. That's it. You want to come work out?
I do. I got to fold some laundry and then I'm ready.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Today, guys, we're doing a little body weight strength. So we do some calisthenics. We do push-ups and pull-ups. For general strength, we do a lot of mobility style step-ups so that we stretch at the same time that we strengthen our legs. In other words, we would do lunges, really deep lunges or really deep step-ups. For example, we have a 12-inch box. We put one of our knees on the ground. That means that we're starting in a really stretched position, and then we do step-ups from there so that we're actively gaining strength in a high mobility position. After we do some of those and some light plyometrics, then today is really all about lifting heavy for me, maybe fast for Brandon, depending on how he's feeling. But those two have pretty similar results. If you want to lift heavy weight, in other words, more than 80% of your 1 rep max, today we're going to do 5 sets of 5. Or if you want to do something like 30 or 50% of your 1 rep max, and then just go as fast as you possibly can with great technique, you will get very similar results in terms of explosiveness. And there's 2 ways to train explosiveness. You can either get real strong or get real fast. But if you ignore both of them, you're going to be slow and strong. And that's not good for volleyball. Cool. Well, see you for a lift in a little bit. Guys, if you want to come to a camp or schedule it, let us know. And on Wednesday, our complete player program, where we help you with your workouts and we help you with your volleyball technique and tactics. That meeting happens on Wednesdays, and it comes with all of the courses we have. And we'd love to have you there, and workout programs as well. So check us out, betteratbeach.com, and we will see you at the AVP Huntington Beach. If you're there, wear your BAB gear and come make some noise for Brandon and all of our other coaches who are competing here.
Sure.
All right. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the sand.